Hi, and welcome to the latest Plimsoll webinar. Today we're going to be looking at the 5 key things every business leader needs to have in place for 2023. Now, for many business leaders, there's simply too much noise in the UK economy as we chalk off what's been another wholly turbulent year. Sometimes it's difficult to know what the next crisis to befall the UK and world economy is going to be. Will inflation abate? Will we go back to low single digits? Will my supply chain still be intact next week even? Will you be able to get deliveries into and out of your business? Will you be able to find the staff you need in this chronically tight labour market? Will you still be able to sell into key European markets as the reality of Brexit hits? What crazy ideas will the next Chancellor or MP foist upon us? Will Ukraine, COVID or the next existential crisis catch us all by surprise again? So running a business in the aftermath of the pandemic has proven to be more problematic than the pandemic itself for many business leaders. Energy prices are up, and without protection against soaring input costs, companies are having to decide whether they can actually continue to operate. Supply chains are being stretched far beyond breaking point in many cases. Qualified, or in many cases willing, staff are becoming increasingly scarce. The IMF recently warned that the worst is yet to come as well, and the UK economy could be among the worst affected of the G7. It can sometimes feel like the economic machinery is working against you, can't it? However, almost all of the macroeconomic factors that have just gone over there are well beyond most of our control. Unless you have a seat at the table of power, you're unlikely to be able to influence the direction of energy prices, war, political change, supply chains, Brexit, or any of those other issues that face the economy. The thing that we can control is our business. Now, you can put the right measures in place to ensure your business is as crisis-proof as possible for 2023 and beyond. And not just for the current never-ending list of crises, but for those that will inevitably hit us in the future. One truth endures throughout economic history, and that's when disaster and crises hit, weak companies are those that are most likely to fail, and the strong are those that are most likely to be left standing. The challenge is to be consistently vigilant that in your market at least, you remain among the latter and prepare to prosper when the former do fail. At Plimsoll, everything we do is geared to making it easy or easier for business leaders wilting under the weight of various pressures to see their full strategic landscape more instantly than they ever have been able to before, to be able to see how their business is truly performing, how it compares to its rivals, how might be in financial difficulty, who are the best acquisition targets, and so on and so forth. All delivered in a format that consumes little time, gets to the point, and lets you concentrate on running your own business. Now, we advise anyone running a business, particularly as we head towards year end, to take some time to assess all aspects of your business, to ensure that all bases are covered. Is your business heading into 2023 in the best possible financial position? And how is everyone else faring? From supply chains to customer base, staff performance to budgeting for next year. The list of reviews and measures is often long at this time of year. However, based on our more than 3 decades of experience analysing industries and the company performance within them, we've been able to isolate 5 key elements every company needs to have monitored and measures in place for 2023. Measure 1. Decide your goals for the year ahead and how much financial capital you need to achieve them. The first step is to plan your business strategy for 2023 and then to calculate the capital you're going to need to achieve that vision and where it will all come from. The question around these elements of future business planning are almost always multidimensional. For example, a set of questions might look like, are we aiming for growth? Will we grow organically or will we just acquire another company? What additional resources and assets will we need to service a larger group? How will we fund our growth acquisition strategy? Will it be funded by formal debt, an injection of shareholder capital, or cash that's already sat on the balance sheet? Other companies will need to look to consolidate in 2023 after the pandemic, then Brexit, and now the cost inflation spike we're all grappling with. Their conversations might be focused more on financial restructuring, emergency injections of liquidity to rebalance the health of the company, and a reduction in assets and resources. Whatever end of the strategic spectrum a company finds itself at, retaining close control on the capital of the business is critical. Key financial metrics all entrepreneurs and business leaders must monitor continuously, both the financially strong and those in financial danger, include how much liquidity do you have in the business? Maintaining enough immediate liquidity is the buffer that allows your company to weather any unexpected storms of which we've become used to. Are you holding too much liquidity in your business? There is a risk in retaining too much cash on your balance sheet. Cash sat in a business is unproductive, and with inflation at 11%, it's depreciating. Finding the right balance is the key to success. Do you use external debt to fund your plans? Debt has become a byword for failure of late, but debt, invested wisely, is an efficient growth multiplier. It allows you to protect your cash balance, but your return on investment must be monitored carefully so as not to erode your margins. Could shareholders fund your plans? Now, for companies in financial difficulty, a shareholder injection of capital is often the best stabiliser rather than loading more debt and restructuring onto the business. Are your shareholders prepared to fund your future plans? Now, deciding the funding model for your business and the strategic vision for 2023 is the key to success. If you're financially weak, there's still time to take remedial steps to fix the problem. If you've got ambitious plans for growth, there are many options, all of which need exploring, stress testing, and then monitoring once they're in place. Now, back in 1987, Plimsoll developed an instant method of graphically modelling whether a company is generating an adequate return on the capital it's employed. Over the past 30 plus years, we've honed that and tweaked that model so that any business leader, whether financially trained or otherwise, can see whether investments made are generating returns and how performance compares to others across your niche, your market, and your sector. Measure 2 is measuring your human capital needs and set your productivity targets. The second most common investment your company makes is in its human capital. Training, recruitment, automation, retention are the usual investments we make into the human resources that execute the strategic decisions that we all make in boardrooms. Now, the shrinking pool of available talent, particularly in the UK, workforce churn is posing a fairly existential danger to many business leaders in 2023. Employers have got an unprecedented choice of alternative employment opportunities next year. Business leaders wedded to the everyone in the office, working patterns and below inflation pay awards, especially for productive and value-added employees. You risk losing key staff in 2023. Worse still, companies that do lose staff will struggle to find replacements in the current job market. How many companies would lose operational viability if they lost just one or two key employees in 2023? Now, a recent study we carried out at Plimsoll shows that alongside supply chains, staffing issues were the number one challenge for the year ahead. Now, save for a reinstatement of freedom of movement or new policies designed to encourage immigration to fill skills gaps, attracting and retaining staff remains one of the biggest challenges companies, particularly in the UK, face across all sectors. The dearth of available people is likely to depress growth and profits for some time in most sectors. Take the care sector as an example. How do you stop that hemorrhaging of people out of the sector when wages average around £9 per hour for what's an emotionally draining job with antisocial hours? Meanwhile, Amazon, often just down the road these days, are offering £11 an hour, which can rise up to £20 when you factor in overtime. In some markets, a 20% increase in human costs is the difference between marginal profits and deep losses. With every sector appearing to struggle with staff shortages as Brexit reality bites and the quiet resignation continues, something's got to give. Again, though, all the business leaders can do is make the best of the situation they're faced with and ensure that they have the requisite measures in place so that they can plan for all eventualities. Managing human resources in 2023 requires clear and easy answers to key strategic questions, including: how many people do you need to fulfill the strategic plans for the next 2 to 3 years? How does your efficiency and productivity compare to others in the market? What can you learn from the most efficient companies in your sector? Should you increase automation to negate the impact of HR fragility on a more permanent basis? What remuneration levels can your business sustain to retain staff in a high inflation environment? How much price elasticity do you have to raise your prices to cover increased human costs? And what other incentives can you offer to make your company more attractive to current and then potential employees? Many businesses use the pandemic to reset. Dynamic businesses used it as a means to recalibrate how and where they do business, who was needed to fulfill functions, and where waste existed. Some just wanted to get back to normal and are now paying a price in lost people and compromised margin. All of the intelligence you need to effectively manage your human capital is included in a Plimsoll analysis. We offer a range of solutions that help you to ensure that your own productivity beats the mean in your market and shows the benchmarks you need to achieve to join or remain among the top percentile. In a tight recruitment market, this element has never been more important. Measure 3. Build an acquisition list, even if you've no intention of buying. All the conditions needed for a prolonged M&A boom are in place. Companies are recovering from the pandemic and the current inflation spike, often need recapitalising. Now, increased digitisation means that fewer companies can service wider territories, leading to significant overcrowding. As a result, companies are buying up and down their value chains. Finance remains cheap despite rising interest rates, so companies with the requisite resources remain thirsty for growth. All the ingredients are there. Plimsoll has been providing intelligence to business leaders in thousands of industries around the world since 1987. And we've recently seen more and more conversations that include the phrase, "We've never bought another company before." Now, you may never intend to buy another firm, or certainly have no plans in 2023, but maintaining a list, it's become good housekeeping. There are a number of key business benefits that having your own nurtured and credible M&A listing, provide, including you can spot the best targets that fit your current business financially. You can pick out those that are fast growing and time your capture before they become too big. You can be ready to pounce if a competitor moves in on one of your targets. You can add and remove targets when new opportunities arrive on the scene. A list needs to be live. It can't be allowed to go stale. You can spot targets that are getting into difficulty, who might be open to a low ball offer. You'd be ready for if the right company becomes available at the right time and at the right price. And you can also assess whether acquisitions made by your competitors look sound and how, if a deal were done, it would affect you. Now, not all companies will be starting 2023 with the defined goal of buying another company. Most won't be. However, how many times over the past few years have any of us adequately planned for situations or circumstances we didn't see coming? If a key rival or supplier or even a customer comes to market, it pays to be nimble of thought and in command of the intelligence needed to decide whether you should jump in at that time. Plimsoll understands that. Traditionally, maintaining an acquisition list incurs huge costs, investment of time and resources. It can be hard to justify if it's a manual process and you might never use it. We offer a range of acquisition services that eliminate all of the work involved in the process. And we help clients build and maintain lists of possible options and reduce the processes from months to literally mere minutes. Measure 4. Measure your current key benchmarks and comparisons against rivals. After recent years, the ability to develop accurate and reliable benchmarks has been somewhat hamstrung in almost all industries. If your own market was shuttered completely during the pandemic, how much normality has returned over the last year or so since restrictions were lifted? If your main industries boomed during the pandemic, have you diversified enough to negate that return to normal demand levels? As we've lurched from COVID to Brexit to Ukraine to this current stagflation spiral, there's a pressing need for all companies to have a much clearer understanding of their own business, its strengths and weaknesses, and its position among its peers. There are a number of benchmarks that you need to measure immediately and then monitor on a continual basis, including growth. Are you growing or are you still in decline? Stability. Is your rate of growth commensurate to the assets you've invested in? Profit. Are you delivering a profit or are you in danger of just overtrading and chasing sales for no return? Capital. Is there enough capital in the business to cover trade creditors? Debt. How much of your business is owned by shareholders versus its former lenders? Cash. Is there enough cash in the business for its day-to-day operation? Valuation. Is your performance adding up to an increased value of your business? And then finally, overall performance. How are you really performing? Where are your strengths and what weaknesses do you have? The first step in setting your benchmarks is to develop a clear picture of these key measures. It allows you to take an objective view of your business and see how others see it. The Plimsoll model provides an instant graphical and written assessment of your company, so you can answer these questions instantly. However, as with all analysis, context is key. How do you compare to others in your market? Now, Plimsoll analysis on your market provides the same analysis as you receive on your own business on every other company. So instant graphical analysis is designed to answer those key strategic questions. Knowing how you compare to others is key to developing the next steps for your business. But which comparative questions should you be asking as we enter 2023? We suggest the following. Are you growing fast enough? Who's outgrowing you? What variations in their services and products are allowing them to outperform you? Are you making enough profit? As you benchmark your profit performance, ensure your margins are at least above the industry average. Also take some time to circle back to the high growth companies and spot those companies that are overtrading and compromising their bottom line just to capture sales. Their strategy is no longer finite, particularly as the cost of debt increases. And then finally, are you efficient enough? The great productivity puzzle is increasingly difficult to solve. And as the Bank of England have said, Brexit's only going to make that worse. As human resource becomes more scarce, it's imperative to understand how your business compares to others. What automation or outsourcing actions have the most productivity in your market? Which ones have the highest productivity gain? Which markets do you service that reward high efficient processes? Serving traditional markets, if there's no productivity within them, is it time to pivot to new ones? Plimsoll will isolate the companies that are getting it right. It will show you those that you need to emulate and study further. It'll also show you the inverse of that and those at the bottom of the performance table, so you can find out what you do in common with them and maybe start to pivot away from that. Look, you know your industry better than most. You certainly know it better than us. You know a lot already about what companies do, the markets they serve, the innovations that they have in place, maybe even some of the personalities that sit on the board. Plimsoll lets you instantly show the overall financial performance of every company within your ecosystem in a fairly surgical way, an unbiased way of looking at companies you're already aware of, so you know where you need to adapt. Measure 5. Produce an annual valuation and identify a list of potential buyers. Very few companies will start to plan for 2023 with a view to selling up. Based on the conversations that we have with clients every day, the number could be higher this year, as there are an increasing number of owners that are weary from the last few years. We're now locked out of the EU markets. They don't have the energy to rebuild or the drive that they maybe once had. However, for most, it won't sit at the top of a list of strategic considerations as we head into 2023. That said, it's worth considering, though, that many events that happen in business and as in life in general are not planned for at all. The price of a lack of planning for every eventuality can be quite steep. Once a business is sold, the price it generates is set forever. There are two elements to this consideration that carry equal measure, and Plimsoll can help you develop that fairly instantly or certainly very quickly. Firstly, every company should carry out a valuation of their business annually. This exercise should be like an MOT or your dental checkups. Something that you do as a matter of course. Keeping a valuation on your business and updating it every year will allow you to measure, are the decisions that you've made over the past year adding value to your business? What's the realistic starting price you should use should somebody make an unsolicited offer for you? What actions can you take in the coming year to ensure value is as high as possible and increasing? What elements of your performance are depressing the value of your business? How does your value compare to similar companies a buyer might consider as an alternative? The second element is to develop a list of potential buyers. The benefits of maintaining a list of companies that you could purchase, that could purchase you, is valuable for all companies because it limits your exposure to just one potential buyer. It can help you to create competition for your business should negotiations start. And it allows you to be proactive in searching for alternate options. Now, an unsolicited approach for your business incurs a host of emotions for most leaders. Those can be soothed by sound analysis of your options and your preparedness. If an approach is made for your business, you've got two choices. You can either decide to sell or you rebuff it. If you're tempted to choose the former, the first question should be, who else might have the capacity, the resources, and be a strategic match that might be interested in us? Now, maintaining such a list should be effortless and maintainable with little fuss. Plimsoll can identify all potential suitors that you might approach in the event of your potential sale to maximise your value. Those are the 5 steps that business leaders must have in place as we head towards a new calendar year. Plimsoll believes all of these elements of business analysis should be easy to produce, accessible and maintainable without tying up valuable resources. Our range of analytical tools gives you instant answers to all of these key elements of business planning. Now, the following is a very, very brief video just summarising how Plimsoll can help you get your own plans in place for 2023 and throughout the following 12 months. So thank you for attending our latest webinar today. If you'd like more information about our analytical platform or any of the other analytical services that we provide and how we can help your company or individual departments within it, please click on the link below to request a free consultation. But in the meantime, thanks for attending and a happy new year and best of luck for 2023. Cheers.